Warning, if you do not like spoilers, do not view this video. Otherwise, enjoy. So the season kicks off with the Australian Grand Prix. One of the few street circuits on the calendar, the Melbourne Grand Prix track runs clockwise around the Alpine Creek and is composed of tiny and tight turns and chicanes running across a very flat track. The combination of slow corners and fast straights will put the drivers' braking to the test. On the very little runoff area, there is almost no room for error. Pre-qualifying rules remain the same for 2012. All drivers in the World Trophy have to take part to determine Grid 1 and Grid 2. Those not making the cut of 26 starters will go to Grid 2, depending on the driver allocations. Main qualifying rules are also the same. All drivers in Grid 1 will complete limited laps, with the top 10 advancing through to the second session, but they're only allowed to drive one single flying lap, bound by Parc Fermé rule. As they go down towards the first corner, Carmen is battling Andreas Nelson for the first position with Peutherer just behind. He managed to get the position for a brief moment before Andreas Nelson getting it back, and Peutherer moving up to second place. Allman and Abert are behind the Twister Racings as they go down towards the third corner. And then there's a little bit of a disaster further back, with Boomeister losing his front wing, and one of the Eternal Grand Prix, plus those Noons spinning off and crashing his front wing. The make it back. The following positions look like this: Andreas Nelson leading ahead of Peter Burlack, Hanny Allman and Mark Abert, and also both the ATR development cars of Fisher and Mellman behind. At the beginning of the second lap, Peter Burlack is battling with Allman in front, while Andreas Nelson is comfortably holding the lead, despite his teammate battling behind. And Carmen is battling with one of the GS Pro Engineering cars, while his teammate Benjamin Burmeister is right at the back, just in front of Johannes Kunkel and Edward Corey. At the front is pretty much even Stevens, with both Andreas Nelson and Peter Burlack leading ahead of Johanny Allman and Mark Abert, and the two ATR development cars, as usual, are right behind. Four unscheduled stops happened on the same lap, with both Burmeister and one of the Silver Lions coming in to repair their damaged cars. Techno Noons also comes in to repair his car, also does Maurice Brock. The Sublime is gone first, with Burmeister following soon after, with the Eternal following behind. Noons is still waiting for his car to be repaired. On repairing his car, he was sent on his way, despite the disappointment and frustration of the racing team at the establishment of the RF1 Team Brazil. Let's have a look at the standings, and in front is Andreas Nelson, ahead of Peter Burlack, Allman, Abert, and both the ATRs of Mellman and Fisher. The rest of the field followed behind, but they're absolutely very much more slower pace than the ones in front. But though there were much more battles going on at the back as well, Johannes Kunkel is hoping to get his position in front of Edward. Lap 3, and one of the faster speed cars comes in after it broken its front wing on the same lap. He comes into the pits, it's much more at the pace, and stops just in the time. It takes him a long time to do this, but he's managed to be sent on his way, despite losing about 20 seconds of his racing time. It's the same story at the front, with Nilsson building a gap from his teammate, but though Burlack is being closed in by Allman. Meanwhile, with Fisher in the pits, that leaves Melland lonely, with Danny van der Leed just closing behind. This is a bad day for Andrea Denise as he comes into the pits with a loss of front wing and also a loss of a tyre. He comes into the pits to hopefully get his car repaired, but he keeps missing the pit box. The mechanics have no choice but to retire him. A disappointing debut for the Infinity UN team. As explained earlier, Nick Fisher comes into the pits for an extra front wing since he lost it on the same lap. He stops a little bit too early before his pit box, but manages to go back in and hopefully get back onto the track. The whole process only took him about 15 seconds and he was on his way once again. Nick thinks he's having a terrible day. Nunes is at the back of the field, but now is already catch up by Andreas Nilsson. Now for a short game of cat and mice, the culprits are behind Nilsson, the mouse being Burlack, and the cat Allman. Now time for the first scheduled pit stop of the race, but Danny van der Leed comes in to get served with tyres and fuel. It only takes a couple of seconds, and he's sent on his way. It's been a bad day so far for the Eternal Grand Prix, but still could be worse. He went wide and crashed into the wall, just right in front of the leaders. Thanks to that little delay, Andreas Nilsson doesn't have enough time to go back into the pits and get back out in the lead, but he has to go into the pits anyway to change the tyre and fuel, meaning he will leave the lead to his Croatian teammate, Peutherer. He comes out of the pits and lands in front of both of the ghost speeds, Johanny Allman leading from Alberts. Despite being 30 seconds ahead of Nilsson, Peter Burlack's pit stop is next. He enters the pit lane as usual, and the team will get ready to get work as quick as they can to help them get the Croatian back in front. And he managed to get back out in front just ahead of his teammate. Despite his first lap incident, Benjamin Burnmeister has a very terrible weekend. When things couldn't get any worse, he lost his back end and slid into the arm coat, and lost his suspension and engine, meaning that he's out of the race. Terrible luck for the GT Omega team. The top four is as follows: Peter Burlack leading ahead of Johanny Allman, and Andreas Nilsson leading ahead of Alberts. That's the top four, both teams separating. It's a disappointing time for the fast and the speed team as one of the cars comes in with a broken front wing. But not to worry. The car comes in to repair the front wing and he'll be sent on his way. The rejoin is just about 5 seconds ahead of one of the Ghost Speed Pro Engineering cars, who is also being chased by Danny van der Leed in the Rex Jr. Another team who's to suffer another broken front wing is the ATR development cars, as Nick Fisher comes in with a broken front wing and hoping to repair it as usual. He just about aims for the pit box, despite going over other pit boxes. Then about 20 seconds later, he's on his way. Unfortunately, it ruined his race. One man whose race is already ruined is Takio Nunes. He's been lapped about 3 times now, 2 of them by Peter Burlack. After pitting earlier, Peter Burlack has handed the lead back to Andreas Nilsson, which is about 2 back markers in front of his teammate. He's going to have a long time to catch up with his Swedish teammate. But fortunately, Lady Luck was in Peter Burlack's sight, as Andreas Nilsson comes in for another stop. And with Peter Burlack just about out a couple of seconds behind, he put his foot down, despite having Edouard Corey just in front of him. Edouard Corey reads the signs, and he moves out of the way. Nilsson rejoins just behind one of the faster speed cheat cars. Andreas Nilsson wouldn't suffer. However, the car that was in front of him did, as he went off the grass once, twice, and the 3rd time before retiring. At the beginning of the race, Peter Burlack didn't know if he was going to outwit his Swedish teammate Andreas Nilsson, but he managed to keep his consistency and talent towards the end. He comes through the final corner to take the checkered flag to win his first ever Grand Prix, his first ever for Twister, his first in his career, and the first win of the WT season. In 2nd place comes Nilsson, and 3rd place comes Johanni Alman. With Mark Abitz coming home in 4th position, that's 2 top teams in 4 positions just where I need to be at the top. Max Millman is in 5th ahead of Kana Bassel, that's good for GS Pro Engineering. Rob Swindles gets 16 points from NetRex Jr. Maurice Brackhorn gets Eternals Grand Prix 1st points by going to 8th place, 15 points. Benjamin Burmeister gets 14 points for GT Mega Racing, and Edouard Corey 10th place, 13 points. Well done to him. Warning, if you just watched this video, do not spoil it for others to watch it. Hope you enjoyed the movie.